This is Stat News Global. I'm Amitabh Devi, and very glad to be joined from the capital by Rakesh Verma. He's the chairman, managing director, and the founder of Napma India. Mr. Verma, thank you so much for giving us your time. I do know that you're really in demand in terms of interviews apart from the work that you're doing. And also joining us is his son, in fact, Rohan Verma in Goa. He's the chief executive officer and the executive director with Napma India. Rohan, thank you for your time as well.
Thanks, Amitabh. It's really nice to be here on your show.
Mr. Verma, I know you're both Mr. Vermas, but Mr. Verma Senior, if I can ask you about this journey, it's been 20 plus years. You visualized something like this in data and locations and joining the two together so many years back, and your son has since joined. How do you see that journey finally seeming to fructify even more now?
The journey has been very interesting. Lots of ups and downs. Truly, the startup was there for too long, 15 long years, I will say. And really, the good business started 10 years back. So, total of 25 years. Now, all this happened because we had the passion and we had the conviction that one day the value of the location data will be really required by everybody under the sun. And that time has come. So it's a great time when the new team of Rohan and others can take on and make it a big business.
Mr. Verma Jr., Rohan, that is, I'm just going to take a comment which is already making a statement on our topic there. It's somebody I know and I have interviewed and I'm in close touch with, who also follows strategic affairs a lot. Salvatore Babone is from Australia, who's commenting, it's not really a substitute. Google Street View hardly covers India right now. I think that's a perfect takeoff point for you, Rohan.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that Map India has spent 25 years building India's most detailed digital map, covering all 7.5 lakh villages, all 66 lakh road kilometers, 7,500 towns and cities at building and street level, a total of 3 crore places. I mean, we've mapped India like nobody else. And there's a lot of technology we've put in around AI, computer vision, creating this 4-dimensional digital map twin of the real world that we are hoping that the world can see and benefit from it, especially India can see and benefit from it now.
Mr. Verma, it's also coming at a perfect time in terms of government support, even if it's moral support, or if not financial, that is, in terms of Atmanirbhar Bharat. And that's a subject, especially considering the strategic sphere we are currently in. It's a perfect example of yours, and I think I should take off that question mark on the top, as Salvatore is pointing out. It's not a substitute.
As far as Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is a direction that our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given, I can say about Mapma India has been an Atmanirbhar since its day one. Yeah, we have absolutely been just not Atmanirbhar in terms of money, but Atmanirbhar in terms of technology. And we feel proud that the technology has been developed by us, and we'll continue developing these technologies with the new wave of AI, ML, and map twin, digital map twin, whatever areas we need to get into. So that's the basic thing as far as I can think about.
Rohan, in terms of traffic, now there's been a hell of a lot of traffic, especially post your ISRO partnership, and then I think again today, and you tweeted about it when there was some speculation that maybe your site had gone down.
Yeah, I mean, it's been actually incredible over the last 4-5 days. We ISRO announced, and we announced this partnership of the best in the public sector and the best in the private sector, indigenous organizations, coming together with the most detailed digital maps and technologies and APIs, and this catalog of satellite imagery and Earth observation data. And actually the love that we got from people in terms of, they were really looking forward to an indigenous mapping solution, not beholden to foreign companies who have ads and user privacy invasion as at the core of kind of what they do. So it's been exciting. Today, what happened is the government also announced a big reform in the mapping and geospatial sector, unleashing innovation for country and Indian companies. And we were retweeting about that. We were excited about that. And just somehow our Twitter account, not so much our website or our app, but just our Twitter account got suspended. We were shocked. I mean, it took, let's say, a couple of hours for it to come back up. But, you hope that, the work that you do to popularize your service, and when it's your moment to go viral, you hope that these services work for you. And it was just, apparently it's some automated global system, bot, etc. And I mean, knowing the context of what was happening in India, nobody should have flagged that. So anyhow, it might be a genuine mistake, I don't know, but it certainly was interesting in the context of last few days.
Just pulling out that tweet of yours where you were explaining a little while earlier around 4 p.m., I think, that the account is back up. Mr. Verma, just now, in terms of, I've got a question which Tanuj Abe Khanna, one of our regular subscribers and viewers has, says accuracy and quality. How do we cut off Google Maps and ensure usage of India Map compulsory? I mean, you have Google Maps already preloaded in everything. And your plans to expand into international markets. Maybe you can take the first half, and then the second half I'll go to Rohan when he says what took us so long to get this done, and our IITs and IIMs and serve US firms more. Mr. Verma, the first part of that question.
As far as accuracy is concerned, I believe, and I think the industry also believes, that MapMindia maps are more accurate. Accuracy doesn't only mean a centimeter here and there. Accuracy also means the completeness. We have mapped every building of urban areas, cities, and all that. So, and with their addresses. And what we have also done on top of that is the e-lock, whereby in the unorganized sector, unorganized addressing system, we are able to provide address for any location across the country, be it in a village or a highway or in the city. So I'm not concerned from the accuracy perspective. We are definitely way ahead of Google.
Rohan, the second part, and especially since you're an electrical engineer from Stanford and also an MBA from London Business School, the second part of that when it says our IITs and IIMs serve US firms more.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I was always the odd one out, studying in the best of colleges and business schools, but always wanting to come back. In fact, I got involved with Mapma India, my parents' company, when I was in my second year of college. And since then, I knew that I was always going to be back in India, running a business, creating impact for society and the country. I think a lot more people now are looking at that. Of course, people find professional success working in multinational companies in the US or Europe, but I think the fulfillment that we have gotten and that many people are experiencing now is to come back and build for India, in India, for India, and then increasingly for the world. And that's the second part of your question around international markets. This is why this regulation opening up, and this is why this support from the government is so needed. The US, Japan, Germany, of course, China, even Korea, they've all supported their own domestic companies in terms of, using them and leveraging them for their own internal maps and geospatial needs, whether in the civilian sector or even in the defense and security sector. And that really helps kind of the companies showcase their potential, get used, and then export that technology as kind of a soft power for the country. And so for probably 10, 15 years, probably since the inception of the company, my father, my mother, Mr. Verma, Mrs. Verma, and even myself in the last many years, we've been quite vocal about supporting the Indian government and the defense and security forces that leverage us. A 2611-like activity should never have happened in terms of preparedness and then emergency response, Even the kind of technology we're talking about, this 4D map, 3D of the outdoor, indoor, VR solutions, high definition map. So, I mean, we really think it's a great moment for India.
I'll just take a comment from one of our viewers, Harshit Bhutani, who says, after seeing Google Maps and Baidu Maps in China, I have was just one suggestion. If you go good with quality, everyone in India will support you. Ron, I just wanted to bring up something else which I've heard you talk about or seen part of your interviews where you talked about being a responsible local Indian company and ensuring, say, for example, that the maps reflect the true sovereignty of the country, depict India's borders as per the government of India. Now, we as journalists are very conscious of that fact, especially when it comes to disputed areas in the Jammu and Kashmir and Pak-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Just wanted to, it's just a coincidence that our founder and editor-in-chief is currently in Leh and Ladakh reporting on the disengagement that was there. And I'm trying to bring up an incident for you to comment on, which happened in October, I think 19th or so of October, when he was again in Leh. And he had gone to the war memorial and was reporting from there. And Twitter was showing his location as Leh, Ladakh, the People's Republic of China. It's post that there was a big controversy. It came up in the Parliament Select Committee. Ministers talked about it. Twitter had to issue an apology and change the location or their geolocation algorithms or whatever it is that they use. But even now, if I'm not wrong, it still shows Ladakh, Leh as Jammu and Kashmir, and not Ladakh as Parliament has ruled in terms of union territory. Your comments on being a responsible Indian company in terms of looking at maps, Rohan. Rohan, just checking if you can hear me.
Rohan, can you hear?
I think there's some problem with that, but Mr. Verma, if you till we sort that out.
Yeah, this is a really big issue, and actually it's a complex issue, and I hope people understand, appreciate, and get alarmed by this. We've always shown India's. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I think there's a.
Yeah, I can hear you all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, what I was saying is that we have always shown the Indian border as per the Indian government, but yeah, but which in a lot of cases actually have elements of Chinese, elements of Russian contributing to these open source maps, open street maps even, which all these global companies just use by default. There's a huge issue that people need to be worried about. Unless a map is genuinely indigenously made and offered by Indian organizations, there will be an issue around both border as well as internal disputes or internal changes. It won't reflect India's sovereignty and security. You saw this in the Twitter incidents. You'll see this in even Google AdWords or even Google Maps shown in Pakistan or China, or OpenStreetMaps that are shown and used by so many organizations just because it's apparently free. But these things knock away at a country's sovereignty, identity, and sow confusion. So as a responsible company, we've never done that. We are very clear. We're an Indian mapping company, Mapping India. We're very clear about security, sensitivity to the local context. And also we're not are doing, because where that data goes and how it's used against the person can be just ridiculous. So I think it's good that these topics are coming out. So that people really see the true face of some of these so-called free American, Chinese, open source or open street kind of maps which are infiltrating the country.
Just recapping the whole Twitter tag row that Rohan was also talking about there. Mr. Verma, just coming to you on something that I know you already do. If I can find that comment that came in from one of our viewers, just give me a second. Yeah, this is from M. Masand. Mr. Verma, I know you're already doing this. I'm asking you this. Would you possibly look at working with industries That is food aggregators, delivery services, rideshare, and potentially with emergency services for fire, police, traffic management. I know you're already doing that. And even issues like what's happening in Uttarakhand after natural disasters, right?
You said it already. We are working with all of them, rather many, many more of them in the areas of e-commerce, food delivery, or you can emergency response system. I think we have even the direct taxes or indirect taxes, where CBDT and GSTN are trying to understand get into the insight of their taxpayers. So it's a variety. It's not just a consumer-free map which Google does. I think we are well entrenched into the automotive industry, which almost every car navigation is using MapMyIndia maps. So basically, I'll say that it's across every industry, vertical, society, and also the Corona time. What we did was something very unique. The day Corona lockdown happened, we started putting in there the Corona treatment centers, the migration problems, and all that in the map form.
Ron, we were talking earlier about one coincidence, that is the October incident that happened with our founder and editor-in-chief, and now he's back in label. Another coincidence, I would presume so, unless you have some kind of leverage within the government, because today, that's February 15th, the government has again announced the complete deregulation of mapping, Rohan. Tell us a little bit more on that and why it's so significant.
Yeah, see, what the government has done is recognized and acknowledged the importance of maps and the private sector, indigenous private sector, in enabling the economy and society. The Prime Minister himself actually personally has spent time and attention on this for defense and security done by a few. He's democratized it now. The government has democratized it so that the whole innovation can get unleashed. Like what we talk about, this 4-dimensional map or this high definition map, and all the real view, what we call the street view type technology. The whole every sector, be it farmers, agriculture, be it logistics, they can all benefit from it. So I think for us in this geospatial sector, it's equivalent of the 1991 liberalization reforms. I mean, and it's said nicely that actually 10 lakh crore worth of benefit can accrue to the government and the country in the next few years. We can by using the power of geospatial. Mr. Verma mentioned a few around taxation, but you can look at logistics, healthcare, agriculture. The impact is enormous.
In fact, let me just play out what the minister who gave a briefing when that announcement was made, Jitendra Singh, who was a donor minister for the Northeast, as well as Minister of State at the Prime Minister's office, when he announced the deregulation. I'll just play out what he said.
Mapping accessible to other stakeholders, we would rather be incentivizing them to become partners in the development journey of New India led by Prime Minister Modi. And therefore, I would also invite the various stakeholders, the business houses also, to come forward to make best use of this new liberalization happening, which would in fact also take us closer to our 5 trillion economy goals.
Mr. Verma, if you want to comment on how that helps, say, a company like yours.
Well, you know, as a startup, you can call it, or now as a company that has reached a certain scale already, the challenge that we have been facing, and that we have been spending time over just this kind of issues related to getting the data approved, versus the technology that we need to work on and the technologies that we can showcase. So while we have been able to maintain the development of the technologies, but what we could not do so far was deploy it. Like Rohan talked about the digital map twin, the 4D, the 3D, and all that kind street view. We have it ready. It's just a matter for us to be sure that we can go ahead and do it. So the point is, based on all this, the opportunities to develop and increase the size of the business, I don't know. Sometimes I keep wondering in my own head, will it be 2x or 10x or 5x in a year or 2 years? Something of that order even we are thinking today.
Also, Rohan, what are you thinking in terms of revenue? I mean, how is that working? Because I do know, again, from what I've read, you talking to the media, that you're not working on the same model that say other companies are in terms of ads. And I'm just going to take another comment that had come in earlier. Pavan Imad Sethi, who says, "Is there an IPO for Map My India coming up?"
Okay, so I'll answer your question on the business. See, the company was last valued in 2015 at $250 million to $255 million. And we've always maintained a positive cash flow and profitability since inception. That's the sound Atmanirbhar business model Mr. Verma mentioned, of around a PAT of about 30%, and turnover revenue, which is all licensing, SaaS, IP-driven subscriptions and annuities, of around 200 crores, and this is set to grow substantially. So in that sense, the company is well positioned. It's got a very strong kind of war chest to now go after multiple market segments in India, in international, in B2B, in B2C. So our focus is primarily on making sure we build great products for our consumers and our customers and users, build a sound business that delivers value to our customers who pay us for clean solutions, not these ad and strong arm type of solutions, and we'll let the rest kind of happen naturally. Everything else is a milestone, but this is our goal.
Sure, I'm just going to take some more comments that are coming in from both our viewers and your users. Seema Gupta, who says, I use Map My India. I'm very happy with it. Rishikesh Muruk, who says, I was a Map My India customer before smartphones. They make a reliable device. I hope they now grow into a great alternative to Google Maps. In fact, we did a little dummy test on a very micro level in Delhi itself, traveling and using both Google Maps and and your maps as well to see, the similarities, the differences. I just got to play that out as well. And if I can get Mr. Verma to talk about how you see your product as superior to Google Maps. Mr. Verma?
Well, without saying superior or inferior, I will say that we take you directly to the doorstep. You don't have to monkey around within a locality and don't find the house, and then you still end up asking, how do I go reach that house? So MapMyIndia provides that. Second is, in terms of turn restrictions and in terms of the good quality routes, MapMyIndia, I believe, is quite very good. And we will not throw you in the river or in the sea by suggesting a route which ends up somewhere like that. I mean, that's the best way I can explain.
Rohan, yeah, we've seen all those memes come out of comparisons. But again, looking forward, if you want to talk about how it compares to Google Maps, because that in itself it has such a vast base already in India and has had so much of time to develop that. How do you see yourself being able to project to potential customers how your product is, in fact, since Mr. Verma doesn't want to use the word superior, but is more adaptable to our circumstances?
I will let Rohan say it.
Yeah, Rohan, go ahead.
See, if you're a user and you're looking for to go to a house address or a specific building, you're probably better off using MapIndia because you'll find that exact place on the map rather than Google. If you are looking for a safe navigation experience where not just you get the live traffic congestion, but also you get road safety hazard alerts like there's a pothole ahead, speed breaker ahead, or a fallen tree ahead, you're better off using MapIndia navigation than Google. And if you're really looking to kind of improve your neighborhood, contribute to that, you can kind of report issues in the MapIndia map that, this is an unsafe place or there's garbage littered here. And, collectively report issues on the map in real time and then have the authorities respond to that. These are just 2-3 reasons why users are better off using MapMindia than Google Maps. It's just like you have Flipkart and Amazon, Netflix and Hotstar, Swiggy and Zomato. I think at a minimum, people should think of having Google and MapMyIndia, and then they should figure out which one serves their purpose better. Probably in some cases, it'll be us, and that will become something interesting for them to consider.
Mr. Verma, when you talk about ISRO itself, how much will that, what is the timeline for that, and what does the customer or user expect once it's in place?
Well, ISRO has Bhuvan, where the satellite imagery is the indigenous satellite imagery. MapMindia has the maps. Now, joining hands together, the simplest way, which we hope and we are planning to do, is with MapMindia map APIs, Bhuvan can be driven, and with the Bhuvan satellite imagery APIs, MapMindia can integrate the image also as part of their offering. Doing this is not something that will take months or years. It can take weeks or something like that. But to get started, we have scheduled a meeting this week after the announcement last week that let's make a plan and move ahead and make the announcements for the next step.
Ron, in terms of public-private partnerships, especially in the space that you are in, now there is a criticism that this is going back to the 1970s and 1980s. You mentioned 1991, Mr. Verma mentioned 1991, and compared what had happened, say, on February 15, 2021 to that. How would you allay those fears that it's not about going back to technological socialism, if I can call it that? Rohan, just checking if you can hear me. There seems to
be. Can you help me understand more? I'll answer that.
Just in fact of the private-public partnerships that you have.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, the government being involved in spaces where private players should be.
Can you help me understand what you mean by technology social?
In the sense, now, how do you, if the government is involved with your kind of a platform, then how do you keep the government out of it? Because
let me help you with that. Basically, actually, I think it was the reverse earlier, that the government was kind of very closed to the private sector doing these activities. But ISRO has actually been a forward-thinking organization. It's actually opened up and provided its facilities, including now this imagery and Earth observation data, to us in the private sector. It's true. We have also provided them a lot of maps and APIs to enable them to benefit their scientists, researchers, academia, government for policy planning. This regulation that the government has, or reform that the government has come out with today, very clearly outlines that they want that the public-funded maps and data that have been created need to be made available to private organizations, and that they want to encourage the government to support the private sector. So we're really hoping that this enables oversight, but At the same time, we as a company, Mahatma India, really want to be able to work closely with the government to aid in the socio-economic, geopolitical requirements for the country so that they can best leverage advanced maps and location technologies.
Mr. Verma, we talked about briefly, both of us, both you and your son, about privacy concerns. Now, when the government is involved with a platform like yours, how much can you keep it out when there are requests for data that could compromise private individuals?
Well, we are ourselves very much careful about the privacy of any user because we don't have the ad model. So, what is the need for me to maintain the consumer details of that kind? So, if we don't have it, where is the government going to ask us to give the details of the consumers?
Right. I know that I can go on and on with both my questions and your questions, but let me just, I beg your pardon, end by asking one question that I had begun asking in the beginning, if I can find that one, which is basically, devices which come preloaded with, say, Google Maps or other maps, Apple Maps, other maps. How do you compete with something like that? Does the government have to step in to make sure that there's a level playing field, or Rohan?
Yeah, for sure. It's a tough challenge to compete when the Google search funnels traffic to its own website, and Google Android forces pre-install of Google Maps. This is a tough challenge we have in front of us. We'll need all the support from the private citizens, from the government, break this kind of monopoly, which it has hurt us in the last 10, 15 years, despite us having a better product from 10 years before Google entered India. So from our side, we're doing the best job to build the best product to serve the users. We are going to make noise about it in terms of tell people about our story, about our products, and we'll seek the support to take on this ridiculous challenge of dislodging organization that has become so embedded in the fabric of the country. I think people are realizing the negative externalities of such things, and so hence there's a wave that will tip the balance back, hopefully.
Rohan Verma, you're in Goa. You're talking about waves, both technologically and, I presume, metaphorically about the sea. Thank you so much for joining us. In fact, that question that I was talking about, I finally been able to find Nitin Kamble. Like Europe, should the Indian government ask mobile handset makers not to install default app like maps and browsers? Rohan, thank you for joining us from Goa.
Thank you.
And Mr. Rakesh Verma,
Thank
again,
you.
pleasure having you on the show as well. Thank you, and all the best to you and your team.
Thank you.
Just a reminder to all our subscribers and viewers,
Thanks,
just click on
Amitabh.
that
Really
bell
great
icon.
to be on your show. Thank you.
Pleasure was all ours. To all our subscribers and viewers, just click on that bell icon on YouTube to increase our number of subscriptions, because like Map My India, we also need that. If you could, if you want to help us financially, if you like our kind of journalism, you can go onto our website, Stat News Global. Do also follow our social media handles on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to get all the latest news and analysis of strategic affairs, defense, and other related areas from an Indian perspective. This is Stat News Global. I'm Amitabh Brevi.